Hey there, everybody, all of you fellow amateur sleuths. Welcome to our reaction and review for Murder at the End of the World, Episode 1 and Episode 2. We are ready to crack the case.
Listen, normally I'm not a fan of multiple episodes dropping at once. You guys can come for me in the comments. I know that lots of people love to binge. Typically, I'm not one of those people, but these two episodes, oh my God, they needed to be put together. I needed both of these episodes, and I'm so glad that they're longer episodes because, this just unraveled with all these delicious little layers like a French pastry. It was so good.
But you know what's great about a French pastry? You eat half of it, and then you eat the other half the next day. I am really old man yelling at Cloud here. Like, I love both of these episodes, but I didn't need both of them together. I wanted to spread them out a little bit more. But I am with you though in just like the length of these episodes is perfect. The content I think is really good. Like, there's a couple little iffy things that I have, but it's really nitpicky at that point because I think we're dealing with one of the best mystery shows that we have seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, does it have the feels of Glass Onion for all you guys out there that watch that movie? Yes, sort of. This like eccentric billionaire brings everybody out to some sort of retreat and then somebody dies. It's like, okay, yeah, we have seen that before.
Yeah.
But the feel of this is very different in the guests that are there, the setting of this whole thing, just the different personalities that are there.
The biggest thing that is important to emphasize from the start here, and we will emphasize this ad nauseum through the rest of the season, this is a Britt Marling show. She co-created it. You know, she did the OA, which is one of the weirdest but most interesting shows of like the past several years. Like, this is going to be weird. Whatever expectations we have for this mystery right now, you can probably throw them in the dumpster and never come back and look at them because we're all probably going to be wrong. And guess what? Is going to be okay because we're going to be really entertained.
Absolutely. We're going to go over what's going on with Bill and Darby. We're going to go over Bill's murder. We're going to go over the guest list, who's all there, and very early motives or possible motives for the people that we think might be the killer.
As we go through all of this, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we want you with us as we sleuth and solve our way through a murder at the end of the world. We are going to be here after every episode, breaking everything down, pulling out our hourglasses, looking at the evidence. And by hitting that subscribe button, you help to support us to be able to make a lot of this content that we just really love to do for you guys.
Yes. So thank you very much for everyone who does hit that subscribe button. And thank you to all of our Patreons. You know, your support really helps us as well.
Okay, let's just start. Bill, you dead. You
Oh.
gone. Bill, I think it was pretty fair to say that we all kind of assumed at the end of episode 1 that somebody was going to die, but I'll be honest, I didn't think it was Bill just because at the start of the episode, they had that whole, was Bill shot thing, and I was just thinking, okay, you guys are already playing around with whether or not Bill is dead. I don't think you're going to go this direction again.
Yeah, the minute that I saw Bill sit down at that table, I was like, uh-oh. Bill's the one that's going to go, because for Darby to be that involved in it, I mean, she cares about people who are just Jane Doe's and also just her love of her life, right? Yep. Like, it goes across the spectrum for her, that it doesn't matter if it's somebody she doesn't know or someone who's the love of her life. She's going to put her all into it, but because it's the love of her life, I do feel like there's that extra push where she's gonna want to know what happened to him, and she's going to stop at nothing.
Yeah, and that is really the jumping off point for almost the entirety of this show. In a way, the idea that here we have Andy, very, very rich Andy, look at me. I'm going to bring everybody to Iceland, to our fancy hotel with all this high-tech stuff. Out of all of the experts, all of these incredible minds, you just so happen to bring two of them who already have a deep history with each other. And that there's the question as to who killed Bill, but then there's also just the question of Why did this even happen in the first place?
There's also the question of like who invited who, because they made it out that Lee invites, 4 of the people and Andy invites 5 of the people. And there's a lot of people at this table that think that Bill was invited by Lee, but I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat to get to this theory pretty early on. And I think Andy actually invited Bill.
Okay, well, why? Why did that happen?
Okay, before we get into the why, we have to get into Bill and Darby and their relationship to get to the why. So we know that these two met online sleuthing about the Silver Jane Does, a bunch of women that had all gotten killed, and they all had pieces of silver jewelry on, earrings, lots of rings, which I also found very interesting that when she went to the hotel, they gave her a ring. And I know that that's the ring to get into all the doors. I'm like, that's not a coincidence, but that's fine. So we know that they met together online. They were sleuthing a case. They ended up falling in love, like deeply in love. And they end up actually finding who they think is the murderer's home. They get there, they pull apart this staircase. What's underneath? A skeleton with silver jewelry. And they're like, oh my God, we found him. And then we see him at the top of the stairs. We don't see who it is, but we see a body. We see a gun. Gun goes off. Looks like it shoots Bill. We see that Bill is later alive. But after that whole situation, he just disappeared and he didn't end up talking or seeing Darby again for all these years until they see each other at this event. Now, the connection is Lee. So we know that Darby brought up Lee to Bill when they were sitting in front of the murderer's house. And he was like, I don't know who that is. And she's like, oh my God, you don't know who that is? It's Lee Anderson, man. She's like the world's greatest coder. And she basically got driven into hiding. And so I find it very interesting that later on Bill and Lee have some sort of a relationship, and it's not clear what that relationship is from the pictures. Is it intimate? Is it not intimate? It's definitely very friendly, which is fine. But then, he gets invited to this. So this is what I think has happened. Okay. All right. I think that the whole connection of Lee and Bill's friendship or relationship or them as lovers or whatever's going on, Andy has found out about it. And that is why he has invited Bill there to sort of get everything out on the table. Because what's going on with Lee, I don't know, but she doesn't seem to want to be in this marriage. That toast was really cryptic where she was basically like, to getting out of this or whatever she said. It was very like, what is this? Hoping we all get out of this. It's like, what?
If I ever make a toast like that at a party, somebody just drive me away, because clearly I do not want to be there. Okay, I think we can't go any longer without doing this, so I think it's important we just tackle this head on right now. Who killed Bill?
Okay, who killed Bill? All right. 1, 2, 3. Lee.
Okay. Well, we did not. Okay, listen, guys. 1, we did not plan this. 2,
I think it's Lee.
Okay, I think it's Lee too, but okay.
Okay, then is it too obvious?
Okay, I have another really, really, really crazy theory.
Okay.
Like, I'm absolutely insane. Should we do the Lee stuff first, though?
Okay, because listen, guys, a whole bunch of arrows are pointing all over Lee on this.
Yeah.
So one of the things is the way that Bill died. He was set up to have OD'd, and typically, like, drugs or poison is seen in, lots of literature, lots of movies, TV shows as a woman's killing method. So that then, if we're looking at it that way, then that cuts out most of the men unless they're trying to frame a woman.
Yeah.
But then we also saw Lee after Bill's death in Bill's room, and she was very specifically looking through his sketchbooks and papers. So it felt like my tinfoil hat's still on. This is my theory. I think that they had some sort of intimate relationship. And I'm not saying necessarily that they were lovers or not, but that maybe at one point Bill sketched her or painted her or something in some sort of compromising position or intimate position that if it ever came to Andy, that Andy would leave her and everything would fall apart, and she's not willing to leave for whatever reason. I assume it's because of their kid that she's not willing to leave, and she feels trapped in this situation, and she doesn't need Bill showing up there with his sketchbooks and Andy being like, "Oh, really? What's going on here?" So it felt like that might be the motive, is some sort of a cover up.
I think this motive could be a cover up. I wonder if it's financial in nature, but of course the problematic thing with that is that we're dealing with already really wealthy people, unless this is some sort of situation where if Lee and Andy go their separate ways, if Lee's not getting anything and Bill has some sort of connection to this, and this is a way that she can view it to get out of the situation. But really, there's a couple of things that stick out to me about Lee, first and foremost. The obvious one, this is probably too on the nose, but if Britt Marley co-created the show and she's playing Lee, like, aren't you going to give yourself like the most amazing role that you possibly can?
I hope she does.
Like that to me just sort of sticks out as something that's like, okay, very, very obvious. And, you mentioned already that poisoning is, this is typically a crime that is committed by a woman or an OD or however you want to describe it within this world. Like, that is another key part of it. They've also just sort of told a story in this episode in a way that makes you think like, oh, okay, Lee, you're trying to help. You're trying to be the good benevolent figure in all of this.
Yeah, it was interesting because Darby knows something is wrong. She's already looking into everything. And because I think she has blinders on to Lee because she's always just admired her, loves her, dedicated her, booked her. She's never met her before. So when she finally does meet her, I think she's got blinders on, because when she figures out everything, with the injection spot, with the help of Ray, the AI. Oh yeah, this is, not a normal place, whatever it was, all these details with Detective Ray, Detective AI Ray.
Yeah.
That, she takes all this information and she goes to Lee, who she doesn't have any real relationship with. It's just somebody that she really admires. And she tells all this to Lee, and Lee's like, yeah, man, let me help you out. We got cameras. This is how you can kind of look into hacking them. Look at me. I'm really helpful. I'm like, okay, all right. What are we going to see on these cameras then? So we saw one of the other people that are there, David. He was like, whatever, on the phone or talking to somebody or whatever. We also saw Zeba at one point just kind of meandering about. We also saw some of the hotel staff meandering about. Then we saw Bill go into his room. Then we saw somebody in a mask. And I was like, okay, so if it's Lee, she knew that Darby wasn't going to actually see her because she was wearing a mask. And if one of the guests had brought this mask, like, I feel like all their bags were probably checked. Their cell phones were taken. Like, they had to do like tests to get on the plane. Like, it just feels like that somebody would have gone through all their stuff and been like, what is this?
Unless it was already planted on the property, ... then it's...
By the staff? By Ray.
Oh no, the AI did it. If this was ever going to be a show that was about the dangers of AI.
Listen, that last scene where we had Darby meet up with Bill, it was at a bar called Ray's.
Whoa.
So, you know what? Because this is the same creator behind the OA, if it turns out to be Ray, then it's going to be like a really brilliant reveal.
It could be really cool depending on how they end up doing it. Now, okay, we'll get into my alternate theory, which may or may not be cool. It may also be completely insane, but I'm going to throw it out here anyway, just because that's what we do here at the channel. Okay, first of all, I'm going to rule out David, and I'm going to rule out Zebo. You already mentioned they were on the footage. We saw the masked person. It feels to me like there was not... It's a little bit strange that they would be right there and then they would come back with that really genuinely creepy looking mask on. Like, I don't get freaked out by a lot with TV, but that actually really freaked me out.
I was not expecting that. That completely like jump scared me right off my couch. Like, I didn't expect that.
It's not going to be David because you know what? Raul Esparza, you're innocent. Barba can do no wrong. I forgot that Raul was on this show, and then I was like, oh, it's Raul Esparza. My Hannibal heart is singing. No, okay. It's not one of those two. I've ruled those two out. Watch, I'm already wrong. Just wait. Okay.
Okay, it might still be Zeba though, because it was really interesting that she was like, "I'm only here to see Fang slash Bill."
It's
That
yeah.
she was like, "I wasn't gonna come, but then I heard he was here, and now I'm here." I was like, "Oh, ooh, is
Okay.
it because you admire him or you want to kill him?"
So we have a couple of other interesting people who were all chosen to be here for very particular reasons. We
Mhm.
have filmmaker Martin. We have Lu Mei, who's building these smart cities, so very high tech material. We have robotics expert Oliver. We have astronaut Sean. The reason I'm
Mhm.
listing these people out is we know at the center of everything is Andy. And the idea of having Andy be the killer is a little bit too on the nose. But I'm going to sort of spell something else out here that's a little bit interesting.
Mhm.
What if this entire show, instead of it being about who done it, it's about how did they do it? Because
Mhm.
if there's one thing we know about really, really rich people, and I'm not talking about like your standard millionaires here, I'm talking about your billionaires upon billionaires. They want to play God and they want to do everything they can to show how powerful they are. And the fact that Andy already created this like super smart AI shows me that he really wants to test the limits of humanity. So,
Mhm.
work with me for a moment here, everybody. What if a lot of these people were all brought in collectively for a reason, sure, for a murder, but also as a test? Maybe
Mhm.
Andy just sort of realized at the end of the day, who is Bill to him, other than just somebody who could be killed off in this scheme? We know
Mhm.
Oliver is a robotics expert. Now, we don't
Mhm.
know a lot about Oliver, but is it possible that Oliver constructed something though that Bill died? I don't want to say of a robot's accord, but that is basically where I'm going here. That
Mhm.
some sort of creation of Oliver's did this so that technically Andy's not the murderer directly. Oliver's
Mhm.
not the murderer directly, but at the end of the day, they've all created something where it looks like a believable stage play in a way because Sean's going to be brought in to try to do some stuff after the fact.
Mhm.
He knows that here is ultimately Darby, the Gen Z Sherlock Holmes. Can she figure this out? And if she can figure this out, maybe that is how she proves useful to Andy, and that this is all at the end of the day about testing her for something else that he wants her for down the road. And maybe I'm just thinking this because I want another murder at the end of the world down the road, and that's the way to set it up. But there you have it.
Or he could be using her to test his own AI or his own robot. That if it's Andy that has, because someone there at this whole party even said, "Oh, we're all basically auditioning here.
Yeah.
Like we're all basically interviewing here." He has us all here for reasons. So if Andy has something that could commit the perfect murder where it doesn't
Yeah.
connect to him, then having somebody like Darby there to see if they can actually figure it out. Because if she doesn't figure it out, then Andy's like, "Cool, this works." And then if she does figure it out, then he's like, "Oh, back to the drawing board. Sorry, Oliver, you're going down for this." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that could be what it is, that everybody's there to figure it out. It's not a coincidence that we have a doctor there.
Yeah, nothing is a coincidence. That's why, you smartly pointed out the race thing, which I didn't even notice upon the initial viewing. Every single thing we're being shown here is for a reason. And I think the whole elaborate idea that this is all just a big audition is really fascinating, mostly from the vantage point of I don't think that Britt Marling is going to co-create a typical whodunit show. I think
No.
there's got to be something larger that is at play here. And the other reason I think this, and this, if this is a traditional whodunit show, it might actually end up being a criticism. It's just I don't think 7 episodes is enough for the sort of story that would need to be told in that sense, because we have so many characters. Other than he's a robotics expert, I don't know anything else about Oliver. I barely know anything about David. I'm just not going to get to know the suspects enough.
Yeah, we know nothing about Rohan either, except that he was like bawling his eyes out when he found out that Bill had died. And I was like, what is your connection? I don't know why you're here. I don't know anything about you. All I know
Yeah.
is your name, and you were really broken up over Bill dying.
Yeah, like there's clearly something between the two of them. Like, it would be really also fascinating in a way if every single person either knew Bill or his alter ego in some shape or form, and not everybody is coming clean. That way it's sort
Mm-hmm.
of established that every single one of these people has some sort of motive to take him out. In that sense, including Darby, who may have been hurt about how everything went down between the two of them.
Oh, it's not
I don't think it's
Darby.
Darby either, but like, would it be the craziest thing in the world if she like hallucinates taking him out, and because she knows how to solve the perfect crime, she's able to stage it?
Listen, I mean, it's possible. I mean, we saw Lou May give her drugs on the plane, and then later, after everything that happened with Bill, the like wait staff gave her pills as well. It was like the security guard's wife. I was just like, why are you giving her medication, and why are you taking it?
There are so many questions that should really be asked here, including, is this place almost too high tech? If you don't know how anything works when you're at a place like this, like, I would be scared out of my mind if I was staying at this hotel, just because I wouldn't understand how everything operates. So I'm inevitably going to sit back and be like, okay, I've already gone to this remote retreat where if something happens to me, nobody's probably going to find me very fast. Two, I don't understand what a lot of this technology is, so that's going to leave me feeling very, very unsafe. I don't know these other people. I don't know Andy, and just because of the way Clive Owen acts, Clive Owen could make, like, a school teacher look terrifying. It's just like, he already freaks me out, and we've only seen a little bit of him so far.
It's true.
Okay, I want to give at least a tip of the cap here to one thing I really liked about these two episodes.
Mm-hmm.
They really played out the how anybody can be a sleuth angle really, really well. Like, their use of Reddit in this episode as, as a casual Redditor, I found a lot of it to be very, very authentic. I'm going to post on this true crime board. Oh, somebody's going to send me a DM about it, and we're going to go back. It all felt pretty legitimate to how I think a lot of this could work, and it didn't feel like hacky or cheesy or over the top, and a lot of shows really screw that up.
Yeah.
Here's my beef.
Oh no.
It's not a big beef.
Okay, I'm putting on my hard hat. Okay, let's go.
It's just that FX and Hulu kind of did this show a little bit dirty by waiting as long as they did to premiere it, and a lot of this is because of the strikes that were going on, which, thankfully are resolved now, but they needed programming for this time of the year, so they pushed the show back. But in doing that, it almost makes like the AI technology in this even a little bit more dated. We have this whole scene where Martin is giving this presentation about being, co-creating with the help of Ray, this movie, this idea that's being written in another style, and they make it out to be so impressive. And it's just like, I've known about this sort of technology for months, and I don't spend every day on a computer studying AI. It's just like, already the stuff in this show technologically is a little bit dated.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't realize that things were going to move at this speed. I don't think any of us realized that things were going to move at this speed with AI.
No, they didn't. So it's just like, yeah, there's a couple of things in here that don't probably feel as like modern as they were setting out to be when it was created. But like, I don't know how you don't watch these episodes and you're not just like completely drawn into this world.
Yeah, this was a really fun start to this. I wish this was not a limited series. I don't know how you make more, but like, there's got to be a way, right?
Hey, as long as Darby does not die at the end of all of this, I think there's a chance.
There's always a chance. Listen, how many limited series have gone on to have more? I mean, Nine Perfect Strangers was a limited series. They said they're making more of that. Big Little Lies, True Detectives was supposed to be, all of these shows are supposed to be a limited series. They just didn't end up. So who knows?
Without spoiling Nine Perfect Strangers, that's the one that I really don't understand based on how that show ended.
But I have no idea how they are coming back for more with that show. I mean, that show was very good. If you guys haven't seen that show, it is excellent. But it had a full, we're at the beginning, we are at the end.
Okay, well, we have made it to the end of this video, but of course, we want all of your theories as to, who killed Bill. Why is this a how in addition to a who? No matter where you stand, we want to know in the comments. And also hit that subscribe button. Thank you to our patrons for your support. We really appreciate that. We'll see you here next time.